All righty. Well, looks like we have some people rolling in already. For everyone joining, thank you so much for joining our webinar today. We have a really cool conversation that's taking place, probably stuff that you guys are talking about all day, every day, whether it's with your teams, whether it's with people, colleagues, whether it's people on LinkedIn and Twitter. But we're super excited to bring this topic here, and we have some incredible panelists, and also just going to be able to give you practical examples of a lot of different things. So, as we let people trickle in, we'll start with introductions in maybe a couple of minutes. But let's give people maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. Already have over 25 people, which is amazing. And for those people who are trickling in as the participants, if you guys don't mind commenting if you're either running a brand or part of a brand, what that brand is, where you're calling in from or checking in from, and if you can take a step further, what you're looking to get out of today. That's super important for us because we want to make this, of course, important for everybody involved, but also want to make sure that you guys get um, the best the best feedback from the panelists as well as everyone on the team. So feel free to drop in the comments. We want to make it conversational, and I think we're probably ready to kick things off. So first of all, also let us know in the chat if you guys can't see or hear any of us for anything for any reason. But yes, as you enter in, let us know what brand you're from, if you're what your role is, where you're from, what you're looking to get out of today, and we'll make sure to take that into consideration. Amazing. So today we're going to be talking about AI and human support, and what is the quote unquote smarter customer service playbook, right? I think right now customer experience is starting to feel like something that is kind of pushed to automation, and oh yeah, that kind of takes care of itself, and not something to maybe worry as much about. And then I think it's coming from a point of where people are leaning on automation more, people are leaning on tools more. And I think what we're here to talk about is, not so fast. There's a nice balance between human touch, automation, systems, tools, and really give you a lot of those practical experiences here. So without further ado, I do want to introduce our entire team. So my name is Ron Shah. I am a co-founder and CEO of a brand named Obvi. We've been around for about 7 years. We're a health and wellness brand focused around women's collagen and products that are stemmed from collagen. We are actually a two-person customer service team. We service about a couple million customers every year. And, we are also in about 17,000 retail doors. So definitely a lot of inbound, definitely a lot of things that come up. But I think for us, we've also been able to utilize that as learnings, and excited to share that. So with that, I will pass it along to Sachin to give a little introduce himself.
Thanks, Ron. Hi, everyone. I'm Sachin. I'm one of the co-founders of Kim.cc. With Kim, our mission is to make great customer service accessible to small and growing brands. And we are building this agency that leverages AI. And we believe that the future of customer support is where AI does the work and it is vetted by humans. And we are building an agency uh, that offers this as a service. Over to you, Margaret.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Margaret. I am the founder of Kahawa 1893 Coffee. It's a specialty coffee company with a mission of empowering women we source from East Africa. And we're also nationally distributed in the US, the first Black and woman brand to have that distinction. And we were also featured on the TV show Shark Tank. So we have a pretty big omni-channel business and looking forward to a discussion. And we work very closely with Kim.
Hello,
Amazing.
everybody.
Katie, over to you.
I'm Katie Brunel-Bretman. I am a CX and community strategist in the ecom DTC space. Margaret, I'm so excited to buy your coffee now. Most recently, I led CX at Glossier, where I was part of the team that did the AI search onboarding, implementation, and evolution of it. So I have a lot of thoughts and opinions about AI and CX and how to do it well.
Incredible. Well, thank you guys so much for the intros. And with that being said, we want to definitely kick off because we have a lot to go through. And I think our you know let's start with the framing that we believe everyone gets wrong, right? The headline today is AI versus human, but I think that's a trap, right? I know, especially Katie, you ran CX at one of the most beloved beauty brands in the world, right? And especially with like Glossier customers who were obsessive about the brand. Maybe let's start with you, right? When did you maybe realize that AI versus human question was maybe the wrong question?
100%. And I love that question. And I think even going into conversations about if and when we were going to implement AI, the thought in the back of my head is the customers and the community are going to have opinions about this. And they certainly did. I was somebody who was lurking on our subreddit every day and looking at what people were saying and, oh no, are they going to replace the whole CX team with AI? And I think going into implementing AI, my big thing was I always want to be more person than AI. I think AI is an amazing tool to supplement the team that you have and take things off their plates, but being more than 50% human and using AI to help your humans do their jobs better and get to do the more fun part of their jobs as a customer, like you can tell when you're talking to a CX agent who's really engaged and interested and has the time and the space to connect with you versus somebody who is solving those really rote macro heavy tickets and just trying to get through their day. And I think that that's where AI can really help unlock is something to supplement humans, not replace them.
Well said. And Margaret, I think same back point to you, right? You're a founder running lean. You don't maybe have the luxury of an academic part of that debate of like, hey, like what are you doing with a large team versus not? Maybe the part from your end is that how do you cut through that noise of where that AI versus human piece stands?
Yeah, no, that was a good question. And I think, as I mentioned, we work very closely with Kim on customer service. So when I think the AI implementation question came, my first question was, how can we add it to essentially what we're doing? And for us, we sell coffee. And as you know, people are very particular about their coffee. Even if it tastes a little bit different, they're going to email and ask, why does this month taste different from last month? So for us, customer service is essential for retention. And once we acquire customers, someone can stay with you for 20 years. So we want to make sure that we don't lose them because it costs so much money to go and acquire them again. And so for us, it was how can we use AI to make sure that we can make our existing human customer service reps even more productive so that they can be more accurate, train them so that they have all the knowledge that they need about coffee and they can, essentially get I downloaded all the information that they normally would ask me. They would ask, a customer is asking, they want the least acidic coffee. Which one should I recommend? So they had to come to me. So being able to download all that information to an AI so that they can just essentially Q&A, they ask these questions. The AI was, one of the ways that has been great to add to our tech stack.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for those, especially the example is super helpful. Sachin, just real quick over to you. You get to see this from inside of dozens of brands, right? So I'm very curious, what's like the wrong question, CEOs or even the execs on certain teams are still asking in 2026? What's the framing from your viewpoint?
Yeah, sure. So I'll share that this context with a little bit of information sprinkled from my past experiences. In the past, I ran an AI company and then built AI for customer support for a business that was doing about 2 million customer inquiries a week. So I've seen it at a macro scale. And here is what most people get wrong about AI. They think that this is AGI, but a lot of this is Silicon Valley hype, because of course, they stand to benefit with that hype. That's a separate thing. But what AI today is, practically, it is statistics. It is trying to predict the next best word. And that leads to the next sentence, the best sentence, and the best resolution. Um, and this in entirety is prediction. So you are subjecting your customers, any brand that or CX head that is actually implementing AI needs to understand that you're subjecting your customers uh, to a statistical model, and it can get it wrong sometimes. So uh, and a lot of them have actually tried. They've burned their hands with AI from different AI providers. The issue that we face is because it can get it wrong sometimes, we tend to believe that we can just let it run across all the tickets. But then if it gets it wrong, it can actually lead to a huge brand rep issue. For example, there was one of the brand that we were working with. They sell ACs online, and uh, they sent in their they allowed the customers to interact with the bot, and one of the customer reached out asking, "Hey, my AC is not working. Can you get it repaired?" The bot said, "Sure, I'll send across a technician." But the funny thing was they did not have a technician on their payrolls, and this was by design a statistical model trying to guess the right answer, and it did. But that was not what the brand allowed. So after about a week or 10 days, the customer reached out asking where is the technician, and there was no answer to that. And of course, the CX head had to apologize and fix it. But basically, the fact is still that you can save efforts of your team that is answering tickets, but you should have a human in the loop, uh, and that reviews the work that is done by AI. So the question really is not is it AI versus human, but it is about, can you augment your current CX staff with AI, and can that lead to like 4x efficiency bump? So that's my 2 cents.
Amazing. But that was awesome. That's super, super helpful. And I think, the one piece that I will say is the part about customers wanting speed versus also wanting, clear understanding of what's happening, right? There's a fine line between that, and I think it's not either or, it's and. And I think that's where this framing gets lost, because it feels like people are kind of choosing one or the other, and I don't know when that happened, but it probably should have never happened, right? It's not an and conversation. I mean, it's not an or conversation. It's an and conversation. So, okay, so we know the framing is wrong, right? But something is broken, right? I think every CX leader talks about it. They feel it. Like, let's talk about, maybe what is that piece that does sometimes feel like a breaking point, right? Margaret, I'll start with you. What was maybe the breaking point for your team, right? When did you know maybe the old way wasn't the only way that would allow you to scale? You maybe had to interpret and add in new systems and think about it different ways. Can you maybe reference a couple of breaking points or certain things that happened that made you feel like you had to explore new ways to approach customer service?
Yeah, no, and I think the main one I would say first was consistency, right? Especially when you have more than one customer service representative. So you want to make sure that they're both sort of trained and they're referencing the same information, especially if they are, on different shifts and they may encounter the same customer. So for us, consistency was one where we realized, okay, how do we systematize this information so that there's consistency, even as through different people accessing that information. So that was one. And then the second thing was, of course, efficiency. So there was a lot of like time wasted repeating the same information manually. And so for us, it's always, okay, how can we make this even more efficient where we don't have to repeat tasks? And so that's one of my favorite things about AI is that in 2026, you don't need to be doing something more than once. If there's a way to automate it, use AI as a clutch, that's the best way. So definitely for us, consistency, and then also accuracy. Because another issue that we faced was in navigating that kind of judgment between wanting to, get to the customer an answer as soon as possible versus waiting to get a more accurate answer. So that the reps were having to kind of think through that. And so this gives them the opportunity to be able to feel like they could move fast, but also be accurate at the same time.
Awesome. I really love that example. Katie, on your end, at some point Glossier like probably had so much volume during especially launches, right? Um, Reference that maybe example real quick, and I know I keep touching on the Glossier one, but like just, was there a moment where you were like, hey, we cannot solve this with humans alone? Maybe you can get us back to that point because I do want people to be able to like connect to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, it was really seeing a change in the trend of what people were reaching out about in the past couple of years. And surprisingly, our big thing that was kind of the aha moment was a trend on, I think it originated on TikTok, of people reaching out to customer service to ask for free stuff, to ask to partner with the brand. And we saw an increase from like 10 to 20% of our tickets a month being these like partnership requests to 30 to 40% of our tickets a month. And if you're looking at your peak season when you already know it's Black Friday coming up, your volume is high, you have a lot of product questions to answer, the team just didn't have the bandwidth to answer all of these questions. And we had this information, it existed on the website, it existed on our social media. So if we could direct people to the right place or the right channel to find out how to partner with us or how to become an affiliate, without using a person, we could actually have people, as you said, for launches and for sales, be on hand and able to answer those product questions quicker, so customers could get the answers they need, and we could really push them to purchase or find the right product or make a recommendation. And so we ended up implementing AI to cover about 75% of those incoming partnership requests. And it freed up our team so much to focus on product education and brand education.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. A great call out. And I'm sure, again, people in chat. And guys, if you're in the chat, there's over 50 of you here, which is amazing. Feel free to like explain your situation, ask for questions. We want to make this conversational. We don't want it to just be us giving a monologue. But so, feel free to ask questions, and we'll keep going through this topic. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to now start to hop around a few different things so that we do get through things. So I think let's jump into we talk a little bit about what's breaking, right? But I do want to get into where the brand's getting AI wrong, right? And why is it frustrating customers? Because I think this is the piece where maybe us in whatever role we are with our brand, whether we're the founder, the executive team, or on the customer experience team, we're all seeing frustrations, but in different ways, right? And so I think we know volume is real, right? And I think sometimes the cure can be worse than the actual disease, right? So let's talk about maybe where AI is going sideways, because I think most brands I talk to, at least, and even Obvi at certain points, were screwing certain things up. Kate, I think from your end, I would love to hear what's like the worst AI customer experience you've personally had as a customer, even in the last year. And I kind of want to put you guys in the seat of like being on the other side to understand that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not gonna, name names, but I was on a clothing brand's website and they were like, we have this new agentic AI shopping assistant, and you put in like what size you wear in other brands and like what vibe you're looking for, and we will give you the perfect size and the perfect items. And so I went through and I was like, this is great. I don't have to browse things. And I went through the whole flow, and the end result was, we have nothing that matches you. And I was like, but you pitched me that you would match me perfectly, and nothing matches. And I ended up not buying anything because I was like, well, maybe this isn't for me. And I think just, kind of solving for those. And I love what Sachin said about people setting and forgetting AI and that being the cause of so many problems. And that's something that I've definitely seen across CX teams, is you can't just flip a switch and assume that everything is going to go fine. Like, a big part of it is QAing and iterating and working really closely with the teams that are implementing your AI so that it is constantly improving. And so if I was on the team for that brand, And I was seeing that people were saying, "Hey, you offered to give me matches and sizes and styles, and then you said nothing was available." That would be a red flag for me. I'd be like, "We have to fix this to get people to buy our things."
Oh, it's crazy because like your experience, I've also faced it in like other categories, and it's like it's clearly something that is getting to maybe a point where it's like apply all, or like a situation where people are
Mhm.
maybe copying the wrong example. So thank you for that. Sachin, I do want to jump to you. From the platform side, what's maybe the number one deployment mistake you see brands are making, or maybe just mistakes in general right now when it comes to implementation of AI, from your lens?
Yeah, I think most brands, what they miss is it's not a tool that you can just set up on day one and it'll start to work. It requires a lot of training. It is probably a lot more than what you would expect with a human. A human can actually interact with you and ask questions and fill in that information whenever there is that miss. But when it comes to AI, it actually um, it you have set the AI with certain prompts. It understands, okay, this is how I'm going to handle refund issues. But then when there is a nuance that the subscription is already overdue, can you actually allow a cancellation, or can you actually allow uh, you know uh, can you allow canceling of a particular order that has already been shipped? Those are the nuances that an AI is not, if the AI is not trained for, and the question and the customers come back to you with a question in that context, it will make mistakes, but because it is trained to answer with whatever little context it has, and it is going to make assumptions. So the biggest and the most important thing that brands get wrong is not train AI well, and not invest enough in the training and maintenance of the AI, and that leads to 0 to 1 issues for brands.
Great call out. I appreciate that. I'm going to go and jump to what AI should own, and what should never be automated. I think this is a really important part of the conversation. And Margaret, I'm going to start with you, right? Um, and I kind of want to frame this with like, I think we need to maybe start to also know where the line needs to be drawn, right? This is, what does AI own, and where does humans kind of need to stay forever, or at least for the time being? Um, Margaret, with you, when someone buys premium coffee from Kawa, they're choosing to support women-led farms, right? That's a brand critical interaction. How do you think about that line, right? It's almost like a customer is being so intentional with why they're choosing you and your brand and your product. Um, it almost, do you almost feel like, hey, I almost can never let them just talk to a robot or a bot or anything almost AI generated because of how intentional a customer is with you? How do you think about that piece? Does that, has it made you make decisions a certain way? Very curious.
Yeah, totally. I think for us, like I said, any customer that we've acquired, and especially if they've a subscriber, we've had, people that have been with us for over 6 years. And we hope that they're going to be with us for a long time. So they're VIP customers. They've spent, thousands of dollars with us. And so for us, when we think about cost optimization, yes, we might save a little bit of money with AI, but we can actually make more money sometimes, especially if we can upsell, right? When you have a human who can actually upsell, or even make the customer comfortable enough. So for example, we have like different sizes, like a 12-ounce bag. We can upsell them to like a 2-pound bag or a 5-pound bag. And that's something that, AI may not be able to do in a way that a customer would do. And another place that I actually thought AI would, be able to deal with this, by now, but we're still doing this manually, is around refund disputes, right? Because refunds are always about like, someone either like accidentally subscribed, or, they didn't like the taste of it and they want a refund. And if AI was doing it in an automated way, you lose the opportunity to have a learning experience with a customer so that you can actually maybe fix something in the future. So for us, it's thinking about how we can use those interactions to deepen the experience. So not just about saving cost or resolving, but how do we delight this customer so that they can actually even feel better about coming back? And another fun fact, because of course we're a founder-led business and I'm kind of like a public founder. So sometimes customers will find my personal information, like my phone number, and I do get phone calls from customers as well. And I always pick those up and I always have conversation with those customers and I always use them as like, market research as well. So for me, it's kind of like when we're not using AI to be more efficient, we're using it to actually do research, upsell, deepen the connection.
Amazing. That was an incredible answer, Margaret, and super, super helpful. I wanted to see if there's any questions in the thing. Okay, cool. No questions just yet. That's totally fine. Sachin, I think on your end, right? When you're looking at this, is there any examples where you can provide maybe not the exact brand, but brands that have had to learn maybe the harder way by implementing or taking certain steps that didn't work out in their favor and how they've had to reconfigure that? Because I think sometimes, and I think partly why some of the people have joined today too, is like maybe they've gone too far. Maybe they are in too deep in implementation. And it almost feels a little bit like, well, what do I do from here? Do I go back and hire people? Do I, stop doing automation? Do I start doing more automation and just kind of deal with whatever it comes from it? Maybe some reference points of how to analyze or interpret where you are within your own implementation of automation.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give some frameworks in how we've kind of approached this, even for Margaret and Kahawa Coffee. So here is what I mentioned one example of the other brand that we talked about that was selling ACs online, and when there was a repair issue, customer reached out and the bot said that we'll send a technician, but there was no technician on that payroll, right? So looking at that example, so the learning that we had from there on is um, so what we do is a risk based approach. We look at we divide all your types of inquiries that you get. For example, where is my order, or my items are missing, or I need a refund, etc., etc. So we divide all the different types of queries, uh, and then we start tracking across each of these query types what is the coverage of AI. For example, we have this internal AI that we call shadow AI that tracks the coverage per disposition. For example, um, whether or not you can automate your entire customer support depends on how what is the coverage like for each dispositions. For example, if AI is able to answer 95% of where is my order queries with a 90% plus accuracy, that is your access for automation. But if you are seeing that the coverage of AI in refund related queries is like 30% and accuracy is probably like 20% or say 30%, those are areas that you don't want to touch AI for automation, because that can lead to more and more misfiring. So this is one metric that we use, and we generally ask brands that even if there is high coverage in a particular category, for example, refund, but but then it's more risk, right? And we do like risk scoring across different dispositions, different category types. So there, what we do is we say that where is my order is something that is low risk. And if the volume is sufficient enough, there is the highest ROI of automation will come from where is my order. But but refund is a category, especially if you're selling high value item, for example, $1,000, $5,000 items. In those scenarios, you don't want AI to just misfire. This is going to cause business losses. So you want a more measured approach, and you want a human oversight in those types of tickets. So we ask the brands we recommend brands to use this framework to analyze where to automate, where to use human judgment.
That's awesome. A great call out. Katie, anything to add here before I move into, how does AI reduce the human touch piece? Anything from your end to add on the side of like what is kind of the right ownership level between an AI and human?
Yeah, totally. I think the thing that I see less conversation about that I feel like is a little bit of a pet peeve for me is that there's also a middle ground. I think it's often thought as like either fully automated or not automated at all. And I think there's a middle ground of escalating or what can the AI do with a first touch. And so from a cosmetic side or a beauty side, I think about, reactions to products or, my foundation exploded in my car and now it's everywhere and I'm having a terrible time. And obviously we want a person to really approach that with empathy, but there are things that the AI can do really, really quickly to help the agents and also show the customer we're moving with urgency, like confirm an order number or an email. And you would be amazed at the percentages of like automations that go up when you have AI do that first touch and then route to your agents who will then kind of take over and provide that human empathy that's needed.
That's awesome. Great thought there. We do have a couple of questions. I just want to quickly touch on those because again, and please flood this with questions, guys. We want to make sure we can answer them. But I really like what Jack asked, which is who is owning these implementations at your companies? What skill set and other responsibilities do the people implementing have? I kind of would love Sachin, your thoughts on this because I think you get a good rounded view here.
Yeah. Yeah. So AI implementation requires strong process knowledge of how your business operates, yes, but it also requires a strong hold on how to do prompting well. And we call this a prompt engineer or a forward deployed engineer, which is a more common term. Um, Typically, brands that are large in size, for example, if they have like 50-member or 100-member CX team, it makes sense to hire a prompt engineer in-house. But typically, brands that have 4-member or under 10-member CX team, there the cost of a dedicated prompt engineer will be higher than the total CX team cost. So we don't recommend that, and usually a fractional prompt engineer is much more suited in such scenarios, or like a lot of brands, they tend to work with us agencies because we can deploy that prompt engineer across brands, and because we work exclusively with e-commerce brands, so we understand what type of queries come in, what is the best way to go about automating which category of questions, and how to do risk scoring, which which type of dispositions have high coverage, and then we have like a playbook that we can use across e-commerce brands, and that generally tends that we've seen that works well. um, but definitely I don't recommend building an in-house team for small brands, but large enterprises, for them I think that's a no-brainer.
Amazing. Appreciate that question. One last one from Nikki Parrington, from a small e-commerce skincare brand here. I don't want to let go of making the customer feel heard, and I worry that going to automation might result in this. Even if the customer gets the desired outcome without that human touch, they won't remember us as being standout with our customer service. Katie, I'm sure you have a great thoughts here, especially from skincare angle. Just any knee-jerk reaction on this point. I think it's a fear that's embedded in so many of us.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, Nikki, the fact that this is how you're thinking about it, like, means you are the right person to like lead your AI implementation because that is the brain that you want. My kind of, I have two thoughts here. One is making sure that part of when you're setting up the AI and doing the implementation, that reporting and insights is part of that, so that you are still getting the same data and insights you would from a human agent. And then I think actually I'm going to piggyback on what Sachin said about kind of having a dedicated team. So something that we did at Glossier is by reducing the human work it took in tickets with AI, we were able to take our senior agents and basically give them subject matter expertise ownership of certain areas. And one of those people was like, I kind of really love AI. Could I specialize in AI? So implementing AI gave us a senior agent who then got to specialize in AI. And what she was doing was creating the training, creating the prompts, QAing it, flagging issues. And so AI gave us the ability to QA AI and have those insights from a human. So it was kind of a really beautiful circle there. But having somebody really taking a look at that and QAing, and I think we weren't afraid to also, if the AI gave an answer that was less than ideal or could have done better, have a human follow up and be like, hey, we see that you got an answer here, but we want to give you more information, or we didn't answer your whole question. And I think part of it is also just being willing to make mistakes and really own that as the CX team and the CX leader, and follow up and make sure that you do what's right for the customer.
Love that. Great answer. Hopefully that was helpful, Nikki. And guys, any other questions, do keep us posted, but we are going to move on from here. So I think let's talk about this. Does AI reduce the human touch, right? So this place, I think we've kind of touched on it a little bit across different things. I do want to just get, Margaret, maybe one thought from your end, right? Has anyone on your team pushed back when you brought AI in? Were they afraid of being replaced? I know you guys are super lean, so it feels almost like even sometimes counterintuitive, like, hey, how can something small be replaced? But it's also scary when like the idea of it is to do what somebody else has done. Maybe touch a little bit on that point of implementation. Did it create any sort of fears in the team?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, because then I think the thinking is that, okay, maybe we don't need that many human reps. We can cut down to fewer because they're going to be replaced by AI. I think that was something that I mean, they didn't tell me, but I'm guessing something that crossed their mind.
Yeah.
I think so the feedback so far has been, what's been great about that, like I said, I think them having more, the AI has given them more leverage and more power where they feel more confident, right? In terms of like being more accurate, having all the resources they need to be able to respond without, feeling like they have to rely so much on the owner, because we've kind of unloaded all this information out there. So now they actually have more time to develop brand knowledge, specific brand knowledge. And so that was something that I think, by removing all this sort of like unnecessary work or repetitive work from their plate, they now can do things that they actually enjoy. And I'm always surprised by some cool stuff, because, coffee is always interesting for people to learn. And sometimes people who work at coffee companies don't actually drink coffee. So they're having to learn about coffee from all the questions that are coming in from the internet, from AI. And so for me, the positive that I've seen is that by removing all this sort of like repetitive work, they've used that time to develop brand and become experts in what we're selling. And that's made them better at pattern recognition in terms of like what they think is important, especially escalating feedback or patterns from customers that help us improve the product.
Great answer. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And just a great viewpoint on how to think about it. Sachin and Kay, before I move on to the next topic, anything to add there? Just on the actual, the good versus the bad of AI to human touch?
Yeah, I can add a little bit, like where AI helps the humans today, as it assists them, is one, today most of the agents that are looking to answer a ticket, they have to remember all the brand policies by heart, right? And whenever there's a customer inquiry comes in, and every day they have to answer hundreds of customer inquiries, so they have to know for this specific nuance what is the right policy to apply. AI does a great job there, where it recommends, because it knows all your SOPs, it can recommend the right policy types that can apply to this particular ticket. And so it tells you whether, if you're looking to refund, is the recommended refund 20%, is it 50%, is it 80%, depend on the complexity, depending on the issue, depending on how aggrieved the customer is. So AI is great at recommending the best resolution type. That is one. Secondly, in today's world, most of the agents, they they had to remember what macro to apply for which specific scenario. Every time the query would come in, they would type a backslash and then say thank you or say refund, and then it'll give them a bunch of macros from where they have to select. That was a tedious job, and it also required a lot of effort from their end to remember. That is again solved beautifully with AI, because AI can now generate responses that are empathetic. And today, I don't see any any customer support agent that actually drafts responses on their own. You know, a lot of them, they tend to use Chat GPT because it remembers the type, the persona of the customer support agent, and then drafts answers from in his writing style, in his or her writing style. And that work is being done great by an LLM, and that's the area that LLM actually substitutes the agent's effort and rather adds a lot of value. Um, but then, as I mentioned, if you're looking at just automating refunds, there is a lot of risk that you're taking as a brand. So you need to figure out what is the right balance, depending on your brand type. If you're selling, let's say, $10 items online, it's okay to allow automated refunds up to a certain percentages. But then, if you're selling more expensive, you would prefer white glove experience. So those are the nuances that I see.
Amazing. Well, appreciate that, guys. I do want to leave a few minutes to leave some questions at the end. So I'm just going to quickly touch through metrics, right? And maybe I'm just going to go rapid fire on this. Like, Margaret, from your end, what are one or two metrics that really still matter to you? The one thing that you're maybe checking at the top of the morning or end of the day. Give me that metric.
Yeah, I would say retention, and then time to fast response, like how quickly we responded, and then did we, save that customer.
Amazing. Katie, how about you?
Yeah, also time to first response is a big one for me. Customers want to know you've actually seen and responded to their email. And then a resolution, like, did we solve it? And if not, what do we need to do to make sure it's solved?
Yeah.
Amazing. Sachin, what do you see on Kim.cc?
So we measure something called whether the ticket is resolved. So we have an automated QA system that actually measures whether this ticket is resolved, and there are few indicators there. If the ticket is reopened, if the customer is not fully satisfied with the resolution, and you can sense from that conversation. So this resolution is one definite metric that we track, because especially if you implement AI and the customer is not happy, they will reopen the ticket. They will come back and say that this is not okay, it's not acceptable. So tracking this is super critical. And another is CSAT, because at the end of the day, the customer should be happy with the resolution, that the problem is resolved. So those are the two metrics that we track very, very closely.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, I think one thing, Sachin, we've gotten a few people in the Q&A that have asked about where to sign up with Kim.cc, and maybe just go a little bit more color into just how the platform works from an implementation end. So maybe you want to spend a minute there just for the people who have been asking.
Sure. So if any of you want to sign up and learn more about what we do, you can just hop on to kim.cc and just /demo, and just go ahead and book a demo right there. And we will take you through how we can help your brand. The biggest areas that we at the start, we can just audit your current customer queries, and then tell you where is scope for efficiency, how much can you save with automation, how much can you leverage AI, and yeah, I mean, we will help you and take you through how we can improve your CX.
Amazing. Last big block. So forecast for me, 3 to 5 years out, the brands that will own loyalty in the AI era, let's say, what do they look like, right? And I kind of want to go around the horn here. Katie, let's start with you. What does a CX team look like a year to 2 years out from here?
Yeah, I think there are always still going to be humans. There are always going to be humans on the front lines. I think that's so important, and that the humans understand how to use the AI to augment their job. So, like Margaret said, can use it to find knowledge that they might have had to search through 2,000 articles before to find, or can use it to get insights. I also think the beauty of AI is that it's a technology that allows your humans to be a little bit more analog. And I think this is one of the ways it really showed up at Glossier was in our ability to do some really basic surprise and delights. And I think one of my favorite examples is we had somebody write in that they had bought a gift for their sister and it hadn't come with a sticker. And if you've ever shopped with Glossier, you know we send stickers in every order. People love the stickers. They've been collecting them for years. And because we had the volume under control with all of our automations, that agent was able to spend that day going through our office and saying, hey, who has stickers? Who has limited edition stickers? Who has stickers that are out of print? I want to put together a care package for this person to give to their sister. And a couple of weeks later, we got a photo of the sister holding all the stickers, tears in her eyes, because we had taken a couple of hours and put together that package and sent her a handwritten note. And the fact that we were able to do that has made a customer for life, but also I think really contributed to the brand reputation and made our agents feel amazing. Like that agent was like, I feel like I did something good today, and I was able to do that because I didn't have a ton of repetitive things on my plate.
That's awesome. Margaret, let's jump to you.
Yeah, I would say for us, it's about brand consistency. So we think of like our customer service as an extension of our brand. So when you're buying specialty coffee, you're buying into that everything is handmade, right? The coffee is hand-picked, it's hand-roasted, everything is handled with care. And the biggest, I think, analog to this is on the creative side. I think we hear a lot about AI slop, and people say that if they look at your Instagram and it's a lot of AI slop, it's a reflection of how much effort you're putting into your product, right? So for us, we think of like that customer service, the way that we handle our customers is an extension of how we handle our product. So that way it reinforces that sort of premium offering that we have.
Awesome. Sachin, let's end with you.
Yeah, I think I would take an example of a factory production line. I think hundreds of years ago, most of this work of making a product was manual. Today, a lot of that is being done by machines, and then humans have two roles. One is to configure how the machines work, and two is to audit the work that is being done by machines. For example, you take a soap factory, the job of the human is to ensure that the soap is moving in a straight line so that it is getting packaged well in that packaging machine. So that is how the customer service is also going to change. There are going to be orchestrators who are going to orchestrate and configure the AI. And then there are going to be people who will review the work that is being done by AI. The 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 current world where work is majority being done manually, especially in the small to mid-sized brands, that is going to go away, and it's going to lead to two different specializations in the future.
Love that. Well, first of all, guys, incredible round. I mean, it's clearly you guys are not just dialed in, but also have thought about it from so many different layers. And I think the really cool part about this is it is kind of ever changing. And I think there is an element of like, there's this element of where we don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. And I think that kind of allows us to all maybe go at this from a viewpoint of like whatever you're implementing today is going to have to consistently change. But I think if you at least set up the right foundation, like even at Opti, I think for us, we've been very, very I think intentional with if we can find speed, but also make sure that we follow it up with, a really nice touch. That was like super important for us. So it's never just optimized for one thing. And I think even though sometimes it feels like we're doing double the effort, sending double the messages, spending double the time, I think there is a very, very easy way for us to correlate that to the impact on LTV. And I think a lot of brands don't actually look at this one important metric, which is like, what is your CSAT score compared to your LTV? It's like it feels like sometimes the customer service numbers, they kind of just sit in one department, and it doesn't like you don't look at impact across the board, right? You don't look at Trustpilot reviews, you don't look at your on-site reviews, you don't connect it back to your LTV and whatnot. So I think one thing that's very important for us at Obvi is we don't look at it and just say, oh well, efficiency has gone down, we're now taking longer to respond to this and this, but is there a positive effect of that too, right? And so I think that's been a very, very important cue for us. I do want to leave the last 5 minutes with any questions that the audience has. Thank you guys for all staying tuned till the end, but also just a last moment question of, if there's one thing you guys would advise brands that have joined today to go and do, maybe starting tomorrow, right? Or even today before 5 p.m., right? What is that one thing that you guys would go and say, go and check for this, go and look at this, go and maybe implement this? What is that one thing? And Margaret, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'll say go and audit your current system if you haven't in a while, because there's a lot of enhancements that you can do especially if you set something a long time ago. Now is a really good time to go and see if you can do an overhaul, and then also thinking how you can use CX also as a revenue driver.
Love that. Katie?
I would say go ask your human team if they could take one thing off their plate, what would it be? Because I think you would be amazed at how many of those things you actually could take off their plate and automate. And that's a win for you, for your team, and for your customers.
Awesome. Sachin?
I would echo what Maggie said. Definitely audit what your current CX looks like. We actually have a tool for that, and in case if you're interested in auditing, it's a free tool through which you can learn what is the potential of automation and how much you can improve your CX through AI. Please log in and reach out to us through the demo page. Would love to take you through that, and definitely tinker around with AI. It is the next big sea change that's happening in CX, and you definitely want to take advantage of it, but be cautious.
Love that. Incredible. I think one other thing I will say is even at Obvi, our first kind of dabble into considering what we need to do for automation did come from the Kim CC team. And I think even if you guys get a minute to just go and find Sachin on LinkedIn, I will say, like, it's the one person in this space where just the utmost level of patience, willing to like teach, learn, and it's never been about join the platform only and that's how you'll get access. Sachin will actually just sit down and just understand what you're going through, how he can maybe help solve things. And if it happens to be through Kim CC, great. So I would just say, like, if you guys get time to just get on Sachin's calendar or be able to chat with him, I'm sure everyone can here be a good testament to that point, as it's just an exceptional student of the game and someone that willing to share too. So with that being said, don't see too many questions, but I know we'll probably be getting a lot of inbound from just being able to share this deck around, which we will do. Scan this QR code too if you guys want to get in touch directly with Sachin and the team. Katie and Margaret, I know you guys would be easily findable on LinkedIn and all the different platforms, but any closing thoughts from anyone before we wrap up here? All right, doesn't look like it. Well, that's everything. Thank you guys all for joining, and for all our participants, again, stay tuned. We'll be sending the deck around. We'll be in touch with a lot of different things. Follow us on LinkedIn, and definitely at least go and see what your automation stack looks like. At least go and get an audit done on that and just see where you're maybe missing things or could do things a little bit better. Thank you all for joining today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.